secret is I just smile and say, live for today. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the sun came up and I gotta say, see it in a whole new way. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world, on top of the world. I'm sitting on top of the world.
Well, hello. Welcome to another edition of Leaders and Learners, where we all know that the best leaders are lifetime learners. And today we're going to chat with a nice lady that is here to teach us a few things about being a survivor, what you do when you have the opportunity to do it again, and how you move forward past trauma and build a life that impacts others. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to this awesome lady. Her name is Jennifer Jost. She is are you from the Bay Area?
I am.
Yes. Her experience, her most powerful experience took place in the Bay Area. She's now in Southern California. So I guess she's like me, just a California girl. But yep. I want to go ahead and turn it over to her. Introduce yourself, Jennifer, and then go ahead and get into your story. And then I got some questions for you from the audience.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Tanya. I am so glad to be here. You are an amazing woman. I'm so glad to spend this time with you on this podcast. It was one of those surfing, Facebook, LinkedIn thingies that I never do and happened to come across you. And it's a God thing. It's a blessing. I'm so glad to be here. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. For being here. I appreciate it because I know you're incredibly busy and I can't wait for everybody to hear about what you have going on.
Awesome. So yes, it's crazy. I got the little twinge to move to Southern California. And within 2 weeks, I was down here. A little crazy, but we've all had a crazy year. So it was okay. And I'm really big on being aligned and following my bliss. And here I am. So I was raised in the Bay Area and I am currently a speaker. And here I am. So don't critique me, but I'm a good speaker. And I'm also a money coach. So I work with our mindset around money. And I have been a wealth advisor for many, many years. So I realized that it wasn't about our zeros in the bank account, but it was actually how we felt about our zeros. So I've just kind of expanded. So I have my two businesses with that. And so I just keep growing and keep talking to people.
I love that. Now, how did you get to this point in wanting to become a money master? Like, everyone's not born with that ability. Everyone is definitely not born with that passion. That's why they got zeros in the bank. So tell me where that even came from.
Great question. I believe it came from my dad. He was a business owner his whole life, very creative, always doing different businesses and restaurants and supermarkets and newspaper distributorships. And so I grew up in a business owner's home. And then, this is going to lead me into my story, I suffered a tragedy and received a settlement. And so I didn't know anything about investing. So that's when I stepped into the investing world of learning. And after 10 years, it was with someone else and it didn't really grow. So I had just got my psychology degree and said, okay, now I need to learn about investing. So after being a business owner for so many years, I knew numbers, I knew accounting. It was second nature to me. So I realized that I know how to talk about it and explain it to people. And no one was trying to reach out and help me at a single mom at 40 years old and saying, hey, can I give you a financial plan? Can I make sure that you're going to be set financially? So that's kind of when I adopted the belief and the passion for helping others that actually really need to be helped. We're not multimillionaires, but we need to have help with our money to get there. So that's when everything was born.
I love that. Now, listen, I have one of my aunts. She was upset that she said her father didn't teach her about money. And I thought about it and I was like, but his father didn't teach him about money either. Like, on some level, we have to decide that we are going to learn these lessons because they empower us and they make us better, right? They make us better. They help us to have a more secure future. And sometimes we actually have to go look for these things ourselves, look for these answers. Now there's Google, but how did you eventually find the answers that you needed to some of the problems that you were having?
Great question, Tanya. You're right. It really wasn't out there for me growing up. Now, I saw my dad do businesses, but there was no, hey, Jenna, come here, let me teach you about money. It was nothing like that. And they never did stocks or, investing. They just saved and spent. So you're right. There was no real education. And so when I needed to get educated, I looked for it and I did find it. And then I became immediately fully licensed because I loved it. And so I immediately jumped into the industry. But you're right. If we don't have childhood upbringing of money and saving, I think we've all heard save your money. Like we know that, but then what? And then here's my bias, men. Let me just preface, I love you. I'm single, so I really love you. However, the financial industry is built around the masculine brain. And so this is my opinion. And we have grandfathers and even grandmothers will grab the grandchild or the grandson and say, hey, let's go buy some stock. Let's go buy some Disney stock. Let's go see how your money can grow. Let's go see how you can be an entrepreneur. But the girl, me growing up, I'm 57, don't tell anybody. And I wasn't taught that. I was about getting a husband and raising a family and barely even mentioned going to college at that point. So we were not educated around money and having our money grow. So I did find the education, and that's what I provide now. Now, I love the industry. I love this opportunity, and I've loved everywhere that I've been. And I'm very grateful for all of my mentors. However, here's a little secret. Ladies, we think differently about money. Sorry, we do. We have a relationship with money. So in this current industry, the way it is now, most of my women clients feel shame, feel blame, feel uneducated, feel even stupid. We're always feeling bad about not having enough and worried about running out and being the bag lady. So we actually have to create the foundation around money, not just what is a stock, a bond, a ETF, a UIT, a annuity, a life insurance. It's not even about that. It's about how you feel about your checking account and your savings account and how you feel about your bill that you hate paying on a monthly basis. We have to shift that and create a really good foundation around your love for money so that it can actually create the life you really do deserve. So that's kind of why I jumped into the money coaching side of things.
Now, you did say you are living a single life, but you haven't always lived a single life.
No,
right?
I haven't.
Tell the people about what your life used to look like.
Okay, here we go, getting into it. So I grew up, I love my dad, love my mom, but I did grow up in an alcoholic home. Any codependents out there can relate? Any dysfunctional childhood?
Woo-woo.
Right? Woo! That was me for sure. And so what I did at 19 was I jumped from one alcoholic home to the next, unfortunately, but that's what I knew, right? So I was married at 19 and to a business owner as well, very secure financially, had my first child, Nicholas, at 21. I was pregnant on my 21st birthday.
Wow.
And then I know, right? And then I had my daughter at 24, and her name is Cherie. And after a few years of that, I realized that I wanted to be out of the marriage, that I could not handle the road of, even though he had stopped drinking, there was still an alcoholism atmosphere in the house. And I brought the atmosphere of codependency as well. So I filed for divorce, and he did not handle it well at all. It was 6 months of total hell. And then he finally moved out. Unfortunately, there's a whole nother story with that. But the worst day of my life, he actually had visitation rights with the children, with my kids. And he showed up at an event that I was at and then took me hostage that night with a gun pointed to my daughter's head in a rented van and said, get in the car. So any moms out there, you know what we do, right? We jump into mommy cub mode, right? Mommy bear mode. And so I jumped in the van and I grabbed my daughter, and my son was in the back seat. I'm like, it's okay. Dad's just being silly. Don't worry. It's okay. So then we ended up proceeding to go to our house, and he pulled in the garage and shut the door. And then him and I went into the office, and he held me at gunpoint for an hour in the office, barricading the door. And he gave me a duffel bag, and he wanted me to put on these ropes and duct tape. And then there was a paper he wanted me to sign. And I was going to therapy, and I was getting all ballsy, and I was like, hell no, I'm absolutely not going to do any of that. Now, was that the right thing? I'm not quite sure, but that's what I did at the moment. So then I was supposed to be at work. And so the phone started ringing off the hook. And so he did end up letting me go. He said he was going to follow me to work the whole time, but he did end up leaving. And that's when I ran to the payphone. Remember payphones way back when?
What's that?
Right. I know. It actually needs coins. Do you remember what coins are?
Right. Okay. Call and collect.
Well, yeah. What is that? Yeah. And so I called the police, and I actually did end up hearing my 911 call at one point. It didn't even sound me or human. And so we all met up at the house, and I'm like, just go in and get my kids. Like, go in. It took them for so long to even approach the door. It's now, 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. Now it's a whole hostage standoff the entire day, like 11 hours. It was horrible. And then he was given a 10-minute ultimatum. And at 10 minutes, 3 shots were fired. He took the lives of my 2 children, Cherie, 5 years old, Nicholas, 8 years old, and himself in my master closet of my bedroom.
Now, how do you even start to process that? And what was the first thing you can remember physically doing once you started to kind of come back to yourself? Like what does one foot in front of the other look like when you go through a trauma such as that?
I remember after the shots were fired, I didn't know they were shots. And so your brain freaks out, right? It kind of takes care of you a little bit. And so I just kept assuming that he shot himself, and then the kids were going to need therapy. So I was already lining up dates in my head to take them to therapy. Yeah. And then yeah, I mean, that's what I couldn't think of anything else. Don't even fathom anything like that way back when. And when I saw them come out on the stretchers, I still didn't know. But then they were transported to 2 different hospitals because it was a trauma situation. So I ended up going to both hospitals and seeing both of my children. After that day, you're still in shock. There's nothing that you want to do. I was actually dating my boyfriend at the time, which was probably a catalyst to this whole thing. And he took great care of me, and I went to bed basically. And I was already going to therapy. I was already going to church because I was already messed up trying to figure out what to do with my life and find the footing. And so I went to therapy immediately. I went to bed, and then I went to therapy 3 days a week. I not immediately, after a couple months, started a grief group. And this is what saved my life. So anyone out there experiencing a trauma or have experienced a trauma, you probably know we need to talk to like-minded people. Even starting a business, we need like-minded people. And so my therapist was amazing. However, I needed to talk to other parents who had lost children. So thank God the Crisis Center had a support group for parents who've lost children. And I went to that group, and I felt so normal there. And there was a couple that sobbed and sobbed every week. And then there was another woman that handled her grief with such grace. And then I found out that the couple's son had passed 5 years earlier. And I was like, oh my God, there's no way I can live like this for 5 years. And I literally watched the other woman who had such grace with her grief. I made a decision at that moment. And I said, I'm going to survive. I'm going to survive this grief. And I'm going to survive with grace. And I'm going to make a difference in this world. And I knew that it was going to be to empower women. That's all I knew at that point. But I just knew it was going to be empowered women. But it just gave me that strength to hang on that one more day. Because there's no reason for me to be here now. There was just no reason. And I didn't want the pain. I didn't want to be here. But at the same time, I thought of that. I thought of there's no way I could cause this pain to my parents, the pain that I was experiencing. So just putting one foot in front of another, one day, the next day, the next day. And I tried everything, hypnotist, dream workshops, palm readers, of course, therapy, antidepressants didn't work, just all kinds of things. I had amazing support from my friends and family. Oh my gosh, my sister came in and ran my business. My friends took off 2 weeks because I had nowhere to live now. They took off a couple of weeks and took care of my rental house so that I had a place to live. Like, I had so much support. People were praying for me. I was ostracized in the media, just so you know. That was not helpful. Sally Jesse Raphael wanted to be on her show.
Wow.
Yeah. And the other guy, I can't remember his name, the other guy at that time.
Geraldo,
yes. And I'm like, no, I'm holding out from Oprah, bitch. I'm holding out for Oprah. So
listen, I want to ask you this really quick. You talked about how money and money management is more of a masculine thing. And after you went through this trauma and started looking at how you were going to rebuild your life, and your energy went into building a women's empowered business, do you think understanding and learning about money and recognizing that it was masculine went into the ultra feminine way that you wanted to run your business? Like, do the two correlate at all?
yes, that's a really good question. They absolutely correlate, because I already had a huge amount of guilt and shame from being the cause in my subconscious of my children's death. How could I function? How could I be happy? How could I have money? How could I have anything good in this lifetime if I screwed up so badly? That is how we feel about our money. When we are women and we might have been betrayed in high school or college or our dysfunctional childhood, we have a barrier to our limit of how much joy we can have in this lifetime. And guess what? Money brings joy. I know it's not everything. I get that. But money brings joy. Come on. And so when we put a limit on how much money we will make, how much money we deserve, how much, all of that. And that absolutely correlates, because men are amazing. They can compartmentalize and say, okay, this is for this. This is for this. This business didn't go great. We're going to file bankruptcy and go on, because now I learned from that and I'm going to take it forward. And they're very good about doing that. And I know I'm totally generalizing here, but I hope you get my point. Absolutely. Women, right? Women actually say, I am a piece of crap because my business failed. I am not smart. I do not know math. I don't deserve it. And that's even more subconscious. But if you look at our society in the commercials and everything, the green line and everything, women want to retire. Stop buying purses and shoes and Starbucks and you can retire. That's crap. Men, you want to retire? Great. Start a new business, get a side job, ask for a raise. We're always put down in this industry. And guess what, ladies? We control the buying power of America.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Now, I think we missed something. You said that you had a settlement, and then you said you messed up. So did you mess up the settlement, or did you mess up something else?
I messed up. Great question. I did not. Well, no. Okay. Good questions. Tanya, you're amazing. I'm on lots of podcasts, and this is the first time I've been asked this question. So I felt like I messed up because, first of all, I wanted a divorce. First of all, I married at such a young age. Then I wanted a divorce.
Start from the beginning. Just screw the whole thing up.
Right.
You did not screw up. You learned lessons, but go ahead.
Totally true. But in my little subconscious 5-year-old brain is feeling like my little girl messed up. And so that's still back there. Like my 5-year-old's running my life until I look at her and heal her and let her know we're okay. She's still making the money decisions. So when I did receive a settlement after the tragedy, I hired someone from my 5-year-old little brain because she's afraid to know anything. So she just gave all her money to men in the industry. That's all I knew what to do, was to trust someone else. Okay, so it didn't grow for 10 years. So then I did something else, trusted another male situation in the industry. That's where I got screwed. My money was locked up for 10 years. I could not access it. It was all of my money. It was horrible. That's why I'm in this industry, is to help other people do not go through that, because I got screwed myself. What other mistakes do I make? I don't know. I make them every day. It's awesome, but you're right. And I learn from them every day as well.
Listen, how do you, because we all make mistakes in money, in business, in relationships, how do you forgive yourself and then trust yourself to try again? Because at the end of the day, unless we try again, we're going to be stuck. So what is the first step that you take when you recognize I went left when I should have went right, and start to begin to fix it? What's the fix? How do you fix it?
Oh, so great. You are really good, Tanya. I'm telling you, you are really, really good.
I'm just nosy, okay? That's what I am. I'm nosy.
I love it though. I love it because you are the perfect person that I would reach out to during this time. So the first thing I would say is reach out. We absolutely cannot do it alone. We absolutely have to have help. I had help. And at the same time, everyone was doing the best they could. So everyone told me, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Okay, great. You didn't pull the trigger. You didn't pull, okay, great. However, you know, I still had that thought in my head. So I needed someone strong, and I had an amazing, amazing coach that held me while I said, I screwed up. And she said, yeah. And now what? And now we forgive, let go, and move on. But this is what we're missing in a lot of programs and groups and things. We're not letting people honor the screw up. Like, let's face it, we screw up. I screw up all the time. It's okay. I love it because now I'm learning something all the time. But we're such a perfectionist, and let me just say me, I, Virgo, perfectionist to the T, type A, crazy mofo. There's no way that I could admit to making a mistake and saying I'm sorry. So I couldn't even admit it to myself. Yeah. Finally, when I had the courage and the confidence and enough people around me that supported me, that I could say, oh, I totally screwed up with that. Yeah, totally screwed up with that. And you know what? I'm pretty cool. I'm still here. Yeah. And these are all the things that I do well. And so I'm just going to focus on all the things I do well. I'm not even going to focus on the things that could have done differently. I'm done with that. I'm focusing on what I do well and how I'm badass and how I champion other women and my clients. I love my clients. I was just on the phone last night with clients at like 8:30. They're like, do you take time off? I'm like, dude, I'm sitting on my balcony looking at beautiful water. I'm totally down with talking to you because I love it. So when we are in joy all day long, it's okay to look at what we do well and let go of the rest. But please don't go it alone, and go it with someone who is not going to judge you, who's going to hold you, hold your space, and say, we got you. We got you. I have my soul sister group that I reach out to all the time. And I'm like, hey, I need to be held. This is what's happening. And they, they just let me be me. And now I've grown to love me.
Now you have gotten past the guilt, but I'm sure you have not gotten past losing your two little people. So talk to me about what that looks like on a regular basis, and how do you stay balanced with that grief, fighting mental illness, because that's what depression is, and increasing your mental wellness to be able to do the work that you do.
That's great. That's so good. One thing I did was acknowledge that it's there with you every day. It doesn't go away. You're not going to get better, like everyone kept saying, I can't wait till you get back to your old self. Screw you. It's not going to happen. Never going to be my old self again. Get over it. Of course, we go through, what ebbs and flows, roller coaster, all of it. I cussed some lady out at the store one time when she wasn't treating her child well. Probably a dangerous situation. So there's lots of things that we do, and that's all okay. What I do I started my business name, which is Diamond Life. My children's birthstone is Diamond. I honor them every day. They're here with you. Nick and Sheree are here with you. So if you drop your keys or you can't find something, that's Nicholas playing a game. If you start laughing for no reason, that's my daughter, Sheree. She's with you. So I just honor that. I was fortunate enough to marry actually my boyfriend at that time, and I had 2 more beautiful children. So Nick and Sheree's pictures were up. They're on the wall. They're not there. They're there. They're there. Oh my gosh, they're there every day. They passed away on 7/11, July 11th. So 7/11, every time I see the number, I think about the good memories. Yeah, we can all go to tragedy. We can all go to horrible, but I choose not to spend my time there. So I'm like, hey, Nick and Sheree, it's 7/11. I see the number 7/11. Do I cry? Hell yeah, I cry. Do I have bad days? Oh my gosh, I absolutely have bad days. And I give myself 3 days. When I have a bad day, I will sit on the couch, watch TV, sob, whatever I need to do for 3 days. And then I say, okay, now it's been many, 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 many years. So I can do that now. We just have to honor our grief, get someone to go with you, go through the grief with you, but focus on the wellness. So I'm always focusing on what makes me happy. Sometimes it's a hot shower. That's all I can muster up. But after you get used to focusing on the happy part, that brings in wellness. So I do believe I'm very strong. I'm very healthy. My immune system rocks. I'm healthy, wealthy, and wise. And that's what I tell myself every day.
I love that. I appreciate you sharing that, because so many people deal with grief while they're moving forward in life, trauma, drama, and just so many different things that go on a regular basis that most people don't see, right? I'm a firm believer that many people are suffering with long-term depression, right? You just become functional. There's functional alcoholics. There's functional illness, functional mental illness. That is really a thing. Do you continue to go to counseling? How do you maintain?
Love it. Maintain. I went to therapy for 10 years after this. And everything else that I mentioned, hypnosis, dream workshop, like everything. I was doing everything possible. I found my support best within women's groups that could understand what was happening. So then I entered 12-step programs as well. So codependent, no more. My favorite place is adult children of alcoholics. I'm totally love that group. It's amazing. I create groups everywhere I go. I create a group. So I have several groups. Like I always have a group of people to go to help me at any time. I'm like you said, lifelong learner, always learning. I have like 5 coaches right now. I always have coaches. I always have someone smarter than I am in my world. And I always have trusted people with my emotions, because it does come up. It just does happen. And then when we allow that to happen and we're okay with that and we let our feelings there, guess what? Our money starts working out. Our relationships start working out. You'll attract like amazing people in your life. I have met the most amazing friends. Just meeting you, like that was crazy. That was just another thing that was meant to be. So we have to know ourselves well enough and continue to focus on the good things. I know it sounds really simple, but we can't be in fear and depression at the same time, and love and depression at the same time. We're going to pick one. And if you can choose to pick a thought that brings you happiness for 17 seconds, it's going to change your life. Depression's real. You're right. Depression's real. And there's a lot of times we need medications for these things. But I also say it's not the key. It's not the only key. We absolutely need support, and we need to be able to share and talk.
Now, before I let you go, I want you to let the people know how they can stay in touch with you. And when they need money matters taken care of, when they don't understand why they have so many zeros with nothing in front of them in their account, who is your ideal client? Who should be calling you? What kind of qualities does a person that's serious about changing these dynamics need to have?
Great question. They have to be willing. They're listening to this podcast right now. There's a reason. If you're on here right now and you see my face right now and you see my lips moving and my eyes looking at you, there's a reason. I highly believe that everyone comes into our life for a reason. So check out my website. There's free quizzes there. If that resonates with you, you're going to get videos from me, so you'll see who I am. If it resonates with you, happy to give you a free chit chat, as I call it. We could do 5 minutes. We can do 15. We have to be able to resonate with each other. I always want to help. But to become a client of mine, you absolutely have to be serious about making a choice. You have to be able to be serious about making a choice just to live a little better life. That's it. You don't have to want to be a multimillionaire. It's not about the money. It's not about doing anything hugely drastic, but saying, I'm living this life right now, and I want it to be a little bit better.
I love that. And website is down at the bottom. It's jenniferjost.com. Make sure you go check it out, follow, support. What are your social handles so the people can follow you, get all the good gems that you drop, and keep in touch?
Oh, that's great. So it's Jennifer Jost again on LinkedIn. So you can find me there. It's pretty easy, especially if you're on this page. And I do have a private, or not a private group, but a group for women, Live Your Diamond Life. So join the group. It's free. It's fun. I actually left a couple gems. This morning was the 4 T's. Thoughts do create things. So I thought that was really cool. And then my Instagram, which I'm getting better at, is Jennifer L. Jost. And my daughter helps me with that as well. So you're going to see her a lot on there because I have a good time with her, which is hysterical. And Facebook, happy to have you on Facebook as well, is Jennifer Hampton Jost. But I think you can still find me with Jennifer Jost as well. Yeah, join me on social media. I'm learning how to do all that great stuff. But, you know, being around people for a reason, and we're here for a reason, love to get to know everybody for sure.
I love that. Well, we want to thank Miss Jennifer for showing up for us today. And she did in a very powerful way. Sharing her story and sharing your story is the best way to get people to know, like, and trust you. And definitely check her out if you are just looking for opportunities to increase those zeros in your account, or keep from getting those zeros in your account. Other than that, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for sticking around for us. Make sure you follow us, Leaders and Learners, on Spotify, and we will see you back here soon. Take it easy.